The scream echoed through King's Tavern and then stopped all at once. A glass shattered against the stone floor. Someone shouted, "He's not breathing!" In the small candlelit room of King's Tavern in Natchez, Mississippi, a man lay flat on his back near the old fireplace. His eyes were wide open, frozen in fear. One of his hands was stretched toward the wall, his fingers stiff, as if he had tried to grab something that wasn't there. Carved deep into the stone wall beside him were 3 fresh words. "She watches all." No one understood how the words got there. No knife was found. No tool. No one saw anyone carve them. And the strangest part of all was this. The man had locked himself inside King's Tavern, alone. The candles flickered hard, even though there was no wind. From somewhere below the floor, a soft sound drifted up. A woman crying. And just as people realized the sound was coming from inside the walls, the lights went out. 3 weeks earlier, King's Tavern felt calm. The old building sat quietly on a hill in Natchez, built from thick stone and dark wood. It was one of the oldest buildings in town. People came to eat, drink, and enjoy history. Some came for the food. Others came for the stories. Jacob Harris worked there as a server. He was 26, born and raised in Mississippi, and proud of it. King's Tavern wasn't just a job to him. It felt important. Places like this remember things. His grandmother once told him. Jacob never forgot that. On his first shift of the season, his manager, Robert King, gave him a tour. "Basement's off limits," Robert said firmly. "Locked at all times." Jacob nodded. "Why?" Robert didn't answer right away. Old reasons. Everyone knew King's Tavern had a dark past. Long ago, people said a woman named Madeline lived there. She was young, beautiful, and hidden away. Some said she was sick. Others said she was kept there to protect a family secret. One night, she died. How she died was never clear. Her bones were found years later inside the walls. Jacob had heard the story his whole life. He never thought much about it, until things started happening again. The first strange thing was small. Jacob heard crying while restocking glasses. It sounded far away, like it was coming through thick stone. He asked another server, Emily Turner, if she heard it too. She shook her head. "You'll get used to the sounds. This place is old." Then came the cold spots. One table near the fireplace was always freezing. Guests complained. No heater fixed it. And every night at exactly 9:40 p.m., the candles near the back wall flickered wildly. One night, a man named Thomas Reed walked in. He wore a dark coat and carried a leather folder under his arm. He wasn't from Natchez. His voice gave him away. "I'm here for the history," Thomas said, smiling. He asked many questions. Too many. How thick are the walls? Has anyone ever found anything else hidden? Is the basement really sealed? Jacob felt uneasy but stayed polite. Thomas came back the next night. And the next. Always sitting alone. Always watching the walls. One evening, Jacob noticed dust on Thomas's hands. White dust. Stone dust. "What do you do for work?" Jacob asked. Thomas smiled slowly. "Research." That same night, something loud cracked behind the wall. Guests jumped. Plates rattled. The crying returned, louder now. Emily grabbed Jacob's arm. "You hear that, right?" He nodded. From that night on, Jacob began dreaming. He dreamed of a woman knocking from inside the walls. Her voice was soft. "Sad. Please," she whispered. He promised. Jacob woke up with his heart racing. The next day, he went to the old records room in town. He found something strange. Madeline's death had been ruled an accident, but no doctor signed the report. No witness names were listed. Someone had covered it up. That night, Jacob stayed late at King's Tavern. Thomas Reed was there again. "I know she's still here," Thomas said suddenly. Jacob froze. "Who?" Thomas leaned closer. "Madeline. She was murdered." Before Jacob could answer, a loud bang shook the building. The crying turned into screaming. The candles went out. When they came back on, Thomas was gone. The basement door stood open, and from deep below King's Tavern, footsteps began climbing the stairs. The footsteps stopped right behind the basement door. Jacob stood frozen near the bar. Emily held onto his sleeve so tight her fingers hurt. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Before Jacob could answer, the door slammed shut by itself. The lock clicked. Robert ran in from the kitchen. Everyone out. Now. But Jacob couldn't move. His eyes were locked on the wall near the fireplace. A thin crack had appeared in the stone, like something had pushed from the inside. Then the crying came back. This time, it was clear. It wasn't far away. It was right there. The guests rushed out of King's Tavern, shouting and pushing. Plates crashed to the floor. Chairs tipped over. Within minutes, only 4 people were left inside. Jacob, Emily, Robert, and Thomas Reed. Thomas stepped out from the shadows near the stays. His face looked pale, but his eyes were bright, almost excited. "She's awake," Thomas said softly. Robert yelled, "What did you do?" Thomas smiled. "I listened." The wall cracked again. Dust fell onto the floor. Emily screamed and ran toward the door, but it wouldn't open. No matter how hard she pulled, it stayed shut. Jacob felt the air turn cold. His breath came out white. From the wall, a hand pushed through the stone. It was thin, pale, broken. Robert fell to his knees. "No, this isn't possible." The stone broke open with a loud crack, and a woman stepped out. Her dress was old and torn. Her hair hung down her face. Her eyes were dark and full of pain. "Madeline." She looked at Robert first. "You knew," she said. Her voice sounded like it came from deep underground. Robert shook his head. "I wasn't there. It was my grandfather." Madeline turned her head slowly. "But you kept me hidden." Thomas stepped forward. "Tell them what happened." Madeline raised her hand, and the lights exploded. Glass rained down. The room filled with shadows. "I was locked away," she said. "I screamed. I begged. No one came." The walls began to shake. Jacob grabbed Emily and pulled her close. "We have to leave." Madeline pointed at Thomas. "And you," she said, "came to use my pain." Thomas's smile faded. "I only wanted the truth." Madeline stepped closer to him. The floor cracked under her feet. "You woke me for your story," she said. "Now you stay." Thomas tried to run. The stone floor opened beneath him. He screamed as hands reached up and dragged him down into the darkness. The floor closed like nothing had happened. Silence. Madeline looked at Jacob. "For years, no one listened," she said. "Now the walls are open." The building groaned. Outside, sirens could be heard racing up the hill. Madeline began to fade, her body turning to dust. But before she vanished, she whispered one last thing. "King's Tavern will never sleep again." The wall split open from floor to ceiling, and from inside the stone, more voices began to scream.